Hello, Paul Virilio. This is David Harvey. I'm Marshall McLuhan. We are gathered here today to discuss our thoughts on time-space compression. Please start, Paul.
Merci, Mr. McLuhan. Media facilitate our communication across vast distances and in little time is possible due to the technologies that society designed and created. The effect of media and technology combined results in the compression of space and time, or time-space compression. Electronic data, say the Internet, makes information possible to cover the same amount of distance as a mechanized communication technology, but in almost instantaneous time. Time multiplied by distance is speed. Do you see how we have the speeding up of information? There is no longer a factor of time because everything is in real time. We receive information at a speed that has us whirring our heads and not being able to keep up.
For the message of any medium or technology is the change of scale or pace or pattern that it introduces into human affairs. That's what I write in Understanding Media. The message of electric media is time-space compression shrinks the world down to the scale of a global village. We are one, unified in the electric field of radio, television, computer, internet. We have one view. Individualism is a thing of the past. Unlike Paul, I believe that electronic data hasn't surpassed humans' perceptions, but are at the same level as human perception and senses. In fact, I believe that it's the speed of the information that help us act upon global issues. With media technology, we can extend ourselves so well that watching a news report about a war is like participating in the war, and so we might be inclined to act upon what we've seen.
This highly optimistic view of media's ability to make humans act for a greater good rides over the truly human side of laziness, greed and selfishness.
What do you think, David?
Capitalism is the force that drives all change. Progress in this sense is growth, particularly market growth. Globalization for capital accumulation. Technological innovation and invention for capital accumulation. Time-space compression is the product of the market doing its thing. Media communication technologies is one chink in the chain of late capitalism. Communications technology like satellites and internet makes globalization easier, all the more so to feed capital accumulation. We can see this at play in the recent typhoon phenomenon. We can watch a video of our friends kayaking in the Arctic in the palm of our hands, and what's more, we can watch it anywhere we go, but only if we have an iPhone. Were smartphones invented because people wanted to make the world a better place, or because people wanted to accumulate capital?
I think speed is a crucial factor in this.
As I say in my book Understanding Media, such as the speed of this process of the meeting of the jet plane, the oral report, and the typewriter, that those going forth to the ends of the earth often arrive unable to spell the name of the spot to which they have been sent as experts.
Market growth has been speeding up since the beginning of modernity. That was modernity's goal. That is the reason why there have been more and more media technology-related innovations. The production and consumption of media is like every other product, a commodity for market growth. What do you think are the causes of time-space compression?
The automobile is one of the means by which the 20th century has fostered time-space compression. I would like to add that cinema is the ultimate automobile, the ultimate vehicle whereby we sit and do not go anywhere yet can be transported anywhere. Inertia indeed.
Paul, I agree that cinema was the medium that drove us from the mechanical age to where we are now. But it is electric media that disintegrated mechanization once and for all. Electric media made us realize, in full naked electric glory, that the medium is the message.
Not only the electric, but mostly the video. For me, cinema was already a problem because it caused us to give up our reality for things that represented reality. So when it comes to electronic data, I'm scared. The electrons that send us information travel at the speed of light. Therefore, information travels at the speed of light. And when we receive that information, we can't grasp it because it's beyond us. It's beyond what our senses were made to perceive. Information becomes invisible. We lose our sense of optical depth of field. That is why we cannot be motivated to act upon wars we see on television, McLuhan. The television lacks the optical depth of field that we get with real, the depth of distance and time. We need to go back to living on a human scale.
Paul, you ask the questions that we need to be asking when confronted with this type of change we are seeing today, and you have the ethical grounding to do so. However, you must realize that we are living in post-modernity. You cannot favor the real over the image because the real and the representation of the real, the image, appear at the same time. Your ideals are too high. We cannot go back.
Yes, Paul, we must all participate in this. We must all live mythically. Our involvement with each other is too great.
A threat to the real is dire for me because it is a threat to purity.
I would like to point out that we all agree that time-space compression erodes traditional values. We have the library at our fingertips. Google's book project means that instead of a public library, we now have the repository of historical knowledge and collective memory in the hands of a corporation. What are the cultural and political implications for this? If Google starts selling collective memory of historical knowledge, the image of a library is a repository, almost a sacred thing. Now that we have information at our fingertips and due to time-space compression, we throw it away. The postmodern condition has made us as a society all the more easily to dispose artifacts.
The internet is a great way for us to connect together, and I think Google's book project will at first enlighten us, but it will be embraced by the whole world.
With the speed up of technological capability to create and disseminate media information comes the speed up of life itself. For me, space-time compression is a threat to our social relations, our body, and our politics. From the French Revolution came the freedom of mobility, and from technology came the command to be mobile. Ubiquitous media technologies such as the laptop and cell phones are chaining us to mobility. We almost don't have a choice to go around with these things. Everyone is commanded to have internet and a laptop. We have given up our free will to technoculture-based society. There is no longer an subjective you and I because there is no more distance. We humans are erased amongst the information at the speed of light.
Time-space compression since the 1970s, caused by postmodernism, has disrupted political economic practices, balance of class power and cultural and social life.
Aha. So you agree with me that our values are eroding because of time-space compression?
Of course. But the difference between you and me is that you are thinking that before technology came along, we were pure. Pure reality for you means real space, communicating face to face. But when were we ever pure? You are suffering from a nostalgic experience of humanity that may have never existed.
Purity isn't the question. The question is of values. Everything I said about the electric age is still true in 2012. Not only is time and space compressed even more with the internet relies on electricity and so is an intensification of the points I made. Perhaps our values have shifted since I made my assumptions about electric media in the 1960s. Perhaps we embrace electricity now, and the new way of organization and communication through electricity.
Or at least the markets would like to think we embrace it. Or the better to increase market growth.
I recall that I told Playboy magazine that as the old value systems crumble, so do all the institutional clothing and garbage they fashioned. The cities, corporate extensions of our physical organs, are withering and being translated along with all other such extensions into information systems, as television and the jet by compressing time and space make all the world one village and destroy the old city-country dichotomy.
Yes, communications technology in particular has helped creative destruction. Elementary economics. Yes, today's values need destroying in order for progress to occur. Now, I don't agree with this, but I'm just describing what has been happening since modernity.
David, I like your idea of time-space compression as a function of capitalism. I myself wrote about how the electric age tribalizes our globe, and how media may be able to control the commercial economies of whole cultures because of it.
Paul, I was reading a book called Interface Culture, and it mentions that Doug Rushkoff says in Media Virus that philosophers like you who grew up before television view media or even technology as something outside the realm of the natural. For people like you, media can only display or comment on something real and cannot acknowledge that the media is something real itself, something that exists on its own and that might have its own needs and agendas. Is that true?
I may be of an older generation, but I think time-space compression brings people closer together.
What we all say. It's whether it's for the better or worse that is important. Now that we live in a global village, it is necessary for everyone to participate. It is necessary for everyone to be involved, because we don't want to be like Luddites like Paul, do we?
Easy now, Herb.
Now that commodities are easily disposable and instantaneous, markets are turning over to ephemeral services to keep up with consumption practices. Accelerated turnover time in production entails parallel accelerations in exchange and consumption. I say in my book The Postmodern Condition. More people than ever are involved in the creation of media. Over time, if I don't read, watch, or somehow consume these, they will accumulate. What are the consequences of accumulation of media? Nothing, except that I'll be labeled as a Luddite.
Like Paul.
Companies are no longer producing commodities, they are producing images and symbols to fit the lifestyles needed to keep the capitalist chain going. The production of images and discourses matters. It is part and parcel of the reproduction and transformation of any symbolic order. Time-space compression explains why a culture produces and consumes the stuff it does. Or the Web 2.0 and participatory culture rallying you see going on is a movement against capitalism and its space and time hegemony. Slow media movement, the Occupy movement, underground art, culture jamming. These are all fighting to reappropriate space and or time.
So you are placing media technology revolutions in the context of societal ideologies and discourses of that time. The real-time implications of the screen mean that everything is deterritorialized. The public sphere becomes intertwined with the private sphere, the political becomes entertainment and vice versa. The public image is on the way to replacing public space, as I say in Polar Inertia. That's why there's so much junk on YouTube.
Why there is so much junk on YouTube is because of the mob mentality. In my interview with Playboy, I said that in a tribal all-at-once culture, the idea of the public is a differentiated agglomerate of fragmented individuals, all dissimilar but all capable of acting in basically the same way, like interchangeable mechanical cogs in the production line, is supplanted by a mass society in which personal diversity is encouraged while at the same time everybody reacts and interacts simultaneously to every stimulus. Paul, contrary to your idea of intertwining of the public and private sphere, I think the private sphere is erased in this instance. In Understanding Media, I wrote that we have reached a similar point of data gathering when each stick of chewing gum we reach for is acutely noted by some computer that translates our least gesture into a new probability curve or some parameter of social science. Our private and corporate lives have become information processes just because we have put our central nervous systems outside us in electric technology. Besides, the concept of the democratic vote crumbles because we think with one consciousness when we are all part of one unified electric field that sends the same information.
It is because of the speed of transmission and reception of information that we have lost our freedom. We have no control over it because it's too fast for us.
That is why I say that the consequences of an accelerated capitalist market is accelerated production and consumption, and over-accumulation. We're saying the same thing two different ways. Now, why there is so much junk on YouTube is because periods of time-space compression are disruptive, so we can expect the turn to aesthetics and to the forces of culture as both explanations. That's what I say in The Postmodern Condition.
So have we all agreed that we are doomed?
I believe there will be further technological revolutions.
I believe there will be another social revolution.
Is this the real life or is this just fantasy?
Caught in the landslide, no escape from reality.
Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see.